right, so, that looks like we've got some audio going.
Yes. Can you hear us?
And so apologies for that. So...
We can see our signal. Can you hear us?
Yeah. So
let us know in the comments,
yeah,
please.
as soon as you can hear us, yeah, let us know. So...
Take 2.
All right. Well, that was amazing what we shared before in the intro.
Shame you could hear it. It's gone now. Something to be said again. Yay, they can hear us.
All right. Okay. Jay's just behind the computer there. He'll come and join us in a minute once he's confirmed.
This was I can confirm that this was completely all Jay's fault.
Yeah.
Have we actually figured out what happened? But it was Jay's fault.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So let's just jump straight into this morning. We're doing Breakthrough Academy. My name is Peter Lewis, pastor here at the church. I've got Josh and our Phantom Jay who will come and join us in a moment.
He'll be here in a moment.
And we appreciate you putting up with the issues. But
the
Word of God is going to go, and praise God, it's only a few minutes and we've been able to sort it out. We are starting a brand new topic today because one of the things that we're aiming for is not just to give information. Josh was talking about something he learned from Bill Winston, where it was like, we don't just want to work with information, we want to work out of revelation. And I want to teach these guys how to get revelation from the Word, not just how to hear what I've got and I echo it to them and they become an echo. No, they learn how to receive it as revelation. That revelation works in them, both what we're teaching here, but also that past these classes and past what we do in Academy, where they are able to go enter and engage with the Word of God in a deep and meaningful way. So they're not just sitting there getting the surface stuff, because it's possible to sort of read the Bible just to affirm your biases, to get God to say what you want him to say, but
read what you want to read.
Yeah, but we've got to approach it with intention, with meekness, and so I am giving them the skills to do that. So you are getting the skills on how not just to know what the Bible says, but how to get it and become, this is my revelation.
Good. Yeah, you guys are our faithful watchers and listeners. Listeners now. You got here week out, or if you're new, great. So glad that you're here. But this is just not for you to spectate on. Get into it. Better take it in. Be a part of it. Because what God is doing is not just for Pastor Peter or for us. What He's doing for us, it's for you as well.
This is one of the reasons I've asked these guys to bring their Bibles. I didn't actually specifically say today do it. I've just encouraged you to do it. As we were doing the book of Acts, it was like, we need to do this. And I'm glad you've brought them today, because we're going to look at Genesis. And again, I found my way of understanding learning is often to look at the physical, underline it. In fact, I found just recently I was really struggling with a whole lot of verses, and I actually had to print them all out, cut them out, put them on my desk, sticky tape them together, and so I could see them, underline them, and see the patterns between them, because I just found I needed something that I could make sense of all this information, and I had to try and see what was God saying through these. And I find the book of Genesis is a little bit like that. We're gonna study this as our brand new topic, but Genesis is like the foundation, as opposed to the book of Acts, which we said is like the backbone, which all the skeleton sort of comes off, all the New Testament writings, the purpose of the church, what Paul was doing, and where the gospel was going, and everybody, like Galatians and Ephesians and Colossians, they all had sort of some sort of root there in the book of Acts. So it was a great backbone for these guys to get. Well, now we're going to go to Genesis, because I'm declaring the Bible does not make sense without Genesis. It just doesn't.
That's good.
It's just like what if we yes, you could sort of give someone a New Testament. I always remember great preacher John Wimber back in the days when he was just a rock musician with the Righteous Brothers, and he had an encounter with God but didn't know what to do with it, and so he went to his confidant, the man who would give him the most wisdom, always speak to him. In other words, the barman. And so he went there, like he said, they would play very late at night, like 1, 2 a.m. He said the better the act you were, the later they put you on.
Yeah.
Because they want people to stay on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he said he'd be at the bar 2 a.m. in the morning, and the barman, and he's talking about, I want to get to know God. So, well, you need to read a Bible. He goes, well, what's a Bible? I says, God's book. He's like, God's got a book? He said, well, you need to go get this book. And so the barman said, here, go to, you know, and none of the shops at the casino had a Bible.
Not that sort of
so
shop.
he said, no, you have to go to a bookshop in the city, and he wrote down, this is what you need to ask them for. And so he went there, and 3 a.m. in the morning, and it was closed. And he's like, this is weird. And so
What are people doing at
yeah,
this time?
so he waited there, long hair, hip, sort of wild rock musician, druggy sort of guy.
Yeah.
Sat on the curb and waited until they came and unlocked this Christian bookstore, and some young girl whose job it was open up, and she's got this guy waiting, and he's like, finally, 8 o'clock in the morning, I can get in there. And she's like, and he goes, here, I want this. And he gave her the piece of paper, the barman, and he had written the King James Version.
Oh. You got there.
And so she looks at her, so eventually wants a Bible. So eventually she goes to the book and gives him a Bible. And what's this? And it's not called Bible. It's not called, it's called the New Testament. And he goes, what's this? She goes, well, the Bible was part of the Bible. He goes, I want the whole. She goes, it was the second part of the Bible.
How to confuse a new...
Yeah, it's the second part of the Bible. It's like,
Should've
I
started
don't
with
want
the
the
first.
second part of the Bible. This is dodgy.
He's like, who reads the second half of a book first?
Yeah.
Nothing's going to make sense.
So he had wisdom right from the start. Yes, you could start with the New Testament and it would be good, but without the foundation of Genesis, what Jesus was doing doesn't make as much sense. Now there are some people who can just embrace Jesus in the now and get their sins forgiven, but not really understand why they need to be forgiven or how it all works. But when you go back to Genesis, you find that it provides the information and the understanding that is the whole of the Bible, and then then the other bookend is the book of Revelation, which sort of closes it all off. So by Genesis and Revelation are two books that you need to study because it makes sense of everything that's here. It's where we came from and it's where we're going to, and with that information we can live now better.
And Acts is sort of where we are now, in a sense.
Yeah.
In a sense, it's the best representation. Here's a question for you.
Yes.
Okay, someone comes to the church.
Question without notice?
Yep, church. Someone comes to the church to get saved,
Yes.
and they say they want to read the Bible.
Yes.
I would have always recommended they start with the book of Mark.
Yes.
Would you still say that, or would you now suggest Genesis?
I would suggest Mark so they can encounter Jesus first.
Then where would you go after Mark?
Then possibly Genesis.
Acts, because I would have normally gone Mark, Acts, and then some of the letters and stuff. Would
Yeah.
you suggest Genesis first?
Well, possibly Genesis because it just helps to make sense of where
that's cool.
and after we've studied Genesis, you might.
I'll
say,
probably say the same. That's
This is
interesting.
why we do. We had someone who contacted the church who wasn't a Christian, and he said, "I've bought a Bible and I'm reading the Bible." And so he was reading through Genesis and Exodus, and he got to Leviticus, and it was
What does this mean?
a little bit harder going. But I tell you what, the benefit was, he was through to 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel. He was pushing through. But we switched to I said, we'll read the book Mark. And I said to him, you know what? Time we get to Mark in the Gospels, it's going to make much more sense.
That's true.
It's going to make you're going to be able to read this with this sort of understanding.
That's
so we are putting the understanding. Now, most Christians and most of those studying here, it's not going to be like, oh wow, I've never heard this part of the book. I've only ever studied the New Testament. But we're going to look at it in the light of what it provides in terms of its foundation, but not in an information sense, but also in this is how it affects us. And one of the things I've been building is a list of Bible characters and their view on creation and how they reacted and dealt with the creation story. And so, for instance, the first thing I noticed in the book of Acts, which we've just studied, in Paul, 2 of his sermons, very much creation is a core part of his message.
Yeah.
Where's the one? It might have been one of the ones. I know it was Paul who said it. I can't remember whether it was Paul writing in a letter or Paul in the book of Acts, where he basically says along the lines of like people are saying, "Oh, You know, what about those who haven't encountered God or haven't had a chance to hear about God? And he's like, anyone who steps outside, you experience his
Book of Romans. When
you
he talks
experience
about-
his glory and his majesty. Like you can't have lived life without experiencing Jesus, because you can't have experienced life without experiencing creation and the beauty and the majesty that's within that.
Yeah, Book of Romans, and so it talks about God's God's awesomeness and his attributes are seen through creation.
Yeah.
And so I found just a number of verses from Ephesians, Colossians, Timothy, Corinthians, Romans. There's a few verses in Romans, a number of verses in Romans, and then Hebrews, which I think is sort of reflective of Paul's teaching. There's about 3 or 4 passages there that refer to it. And in John's writing, in the book of Revelation, the book of, in writing John. So these are key characters, and creation was not like, oh yeah, God is the creator, tick the box for a doctrinal understanding.
Yeah.
No, it was core to how they dealt with and interacted with the world. In fact, I think one of the interesting things to me is it was dealing with non-Jewish people that he actually spoke about God as the creator. And sometimes you think, well, yeah, it's fine talking. I could talk about creation to the Jews because they already believe in Genesis 1.
Yeah.
But talking to non-Jews, the Gentiles, well, that's a bit more difficult because they believe in their own creation stories. So to come in and just suddenly talk about creation is a bit jarring for them.
Yeah.
But it was when Paul, I remember the situation where Paul did a great miracle, raised up the guy who'd never walked, and he's dancing, and everyone's, oh, you're amazing. And so then they said, you must be, you must be the Roman gods, and we're gonna worship you, and we're gonna make sacrifice to you. And he says, no, don't do that. And what does he say? He said, we are also men of the same nature as you. We preached the gospel to you in order that you should turn from these vain things, these idols, these vain things, to the living God, who made the heaven and the earth and the sea and all that is in them. He said, we have come here to tell you about the Creator God, so you can turn away from your idols.
Yeah.
All right. So he was going hard, and when he was in Men of Athens, when he was speaking to them, and they weren't Jews, they were just philosophers. They were trying to new things. He spoke to them about the God who made the world, and he said, and out of that foundation, that was where his message came from.
That's good.
So it's not just something we say, okay, that's really interesting, I can tick doctrinally, I understand this, and it gives me some understanding. Actually, for us to engage with the world, we need to be able to bring them the understanding that God is the creator, because in effect our whole gospel message is on the fact that there is a judgment on us by sin. And we understand the fall through Genesis and the sin that came into the world, but also the key to all this is why does sin matter? It was because our Creator is going to judge us.
Yep.
And why is he going to judge us? Because he is the Creator. He is the only one that has the right to do that.
Yeah.
And if he's not the Creator, well,
he doesn't get to do that.
Go jump, you know what I mean? If someone walked into our church and said, I'm going to judge you as a church, I'd show them the door. You can judge the exit, buddy.
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
see how much you enjoy the exit experience from our church. If you come in here, because who are you to judge us?
Yeah.
All right, but if the founding pastor, or the person, comes in, they say, well, listen, I've got an authority here because you've been born out of me.
Yeah.
I'm now judging you. And without the creation understanding of who God is, he's really got no right to judge. But he's judging us as the Creator.
Yeah.
And because of that, everybody's got to be prepared for that. And the problem is, I'm not prepared, but Jesus has made way and provision. So the whole gospel message is around that. But one of the things is that I think the creation message has become very muddied. And when I say creation message, the message that God is the Creator has become very muddied because our world has embraced a naturalistic explanation for the earth that we're in and the life that we're experiencing, and it has nothing to do with God. And in fact, to say that God created the earth is to basically say I'm an idiot nowadays. Do you know what I mean? There are people that just you can get this right across the beautiful parts of the internet where people share thoughts in kind and gentle
pick a corner.
manner. Yeah, and they say there's a lot of people. If you look in the topics of creation and things which I have done a lot of study in, and if you move into the realms where people are debating it, one of the common debates is no real scientist, no true scientist is a creationist. And if you
because they believe in science.
Because they know the reality and they deal with real hard facts and science. The only people that are creationists are idiots. That's their impression. People that are ignorant, foolish, people who can never study true science. And I think it's one of the most amazing concepts they have is the fact that they think that the people who are saying that God created, they're the same way as the natives are saying that there's a moon god, or that there's a that the god, that the reason the moon comes up at night is because of some spirit or things like that. We're just fools who believe in myths.
Believe in anything.
Believe in anything, and that has you sort of think, oh well, we can still preach the gospel, but one of the problems is the core elements of the gospel clash with that, and if we don't have strength and ability to share that powerfully and with grace, but with anointing, we can't share the gospel fully. We can't take the message that Paul,
where was it? We talked about this in the book of Acts at some point. One of Paul's first sermons.
Yeah,
he preached, where it was like he would connect. He went to the market, I believe. He was at a market somewhere, and he was teaching there.
Yeah.
And it basically talks about how he connected in with like what they knew, sort of thing. I'm trying to think of the verse.
I think you're thinking.
Was that with him and Barnabas, or was that the other one?
Trying to think of do you know the story I'm talking about?
Where I think you're thinking of Athens, where he went there and he said, "I walked through your city and I found an idol to the unknown god."
Yes, I think that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where is that? Where's in Athens?
That's book of Acts chapter 17, verse 22.
17:22. So I think this is the right. I think this is the one.
Verse 23 says, I found an altar with this inscription to an unknown god.
Yeah. For verse 23, as I passed along and observed the object, I even found an altar with this inscription to an unknown god. Therefore, what you worship without knowing it, this I proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it, who is Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by human hands, nor is he served by human hands as if he needed anything, because he himself gives life and breath and everything to everyone. From one man he made every nation of the human race to inhabit. I think it's that same. I can read from here. He made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way towards him and find him. Yet he is actually not far from each one of us.
Yeah.
For in him we live and move and have our being, and even some of your own poets have said, for we are indeed his offspring. Being then God's offspring, we ought not to think that the divine being is like gold or silver or stone, or an image formed by the art and imagination of man. The times of ignorance God overlooked, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent, because he has fixed a day in which he will judge the world in righteousness by a man whom he has appointed, and of this he has given assurance to all by raising him from the dead. Now when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked, but others said, we will hear you again about this. So Paul went out from their midst, but some men joined him and believed, among who, and then it goes on to name some of the people that were there. I remember when we talked about this maybe like week 7 or 8 of the Acts series. It really spoke to me. I remember thinking a lot about using it in the discussion of creation. Because what Paul does here is a really crafty and clever way. He says, hey, you're doing everything all wrong, but he's like, your heart is to worship. Your heart is to worship God.
Yeah.
You're doing it in all the wrong ways, but I'm going to take that heart and I'm going to help you do the right thing with that heart.
I'm going to connect you to the real
I'm
God.
going to connect you to the real God because your heart is your heart is to do this. And he's like, Paul managed to, and I think it really challenged me that, you know, I was praying about this a lot this week with everything that happened last week with Charlie Kirk and stuff, and obviously it really impacted me, his death. He was such one of the biggest influences on my life, and then seeing the way the world reacted and so much of social media celebrating and stuff like that, it was really getting to me and really hurting me, and I didn't really know what to do. And I was praying, and God just took me to, I believe it's in Luke 22 or 23, the story of when Jesus was taken to the cross, and it says they were mocking him, they were spitting on him, they were, you know, abusing him, whipping him, and it says the only thing he said was, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Yeah. And just being in that moment, like, just being blown away and in utter awe of the grace that Jesus showed on his way to the cross, you know? Yeah. And a moment where he deserved no mocking. He was the greatest sacrifice of all time, and he chose to forgive those who were literally killing him. And it just, it blew my mind. And God was speaking to me, and he said this week, he said, evangelism starts when we learn to see people the way God sees them. And he said, you can't be a true evangelist until the only way you see someone is through the eyes of God. Yeah. And he said, because when you see them through the eyes of God and who God has called them to be, what they do, everything they say, you're not going to be deterred by that, because you're going to see them for who God calls them to be. And that really impacted me, that concept of, hey, I want to learn to see everyone in my life through the filter, that same filter that Jesus had when he was being carried to a cross. And he saw those people and said, yeah, they're the people I still want to die for. Because he saw them through who God had called them to be. He saw them through their potential. He saw them through the gold that was hidden in the dirt of their lives. He saw them in that way. So that was why he could choose to do that. Not because he was just giving out, not because he wasn't caring, because he still saw them for who God called them to be.
Yep.
And learning to see that, and going back to here in Acts 17, where Paul was teaching these people, it would have been very easy for Christians to get offended at so much of what they were doing. They were worshipping idols. Yeah. You know, it's like, it's not, and God, that's in no way saying it's okay to worship idols, because God makes it's really clear in the Bible.
And Paul said,
what are you doing?
He said, what are you doing?
Paul says, like, there's a judgment coming for this. But how many Christians would approach that with, you know, the frustration? But I love that Paul was able to take a step back and say, hey, what about this can I see through the eyes of Jesus? What about this can I see through the eyes of grace? And he saw in them these facts. Okay, under all of this is coming from, your soul is searching for a reason to worship. Your soul is searching for purpose, for connection, and in worship. And he's like, I want to connect with that desire and that will and that hunger, and I'm going to lead that hunger to how to do this thing right and how to worship God. You know, and I think that's a wonderful concept. I often think about that in creation, because I've had a lot of friends who often talk to me who they're not Christian, but they're very spiritual in terms of they understand that there's something about this world that is spiritual and for the soul, and you know, they love. I remember we had there was someone in my life group a number of years ago, and they messaged me and they said, hey, would you be able to pray? They said, we've got a friend of mine, I work with him, and I'm trying to teach him about the gospel, he's just hesitant, but they said he's really, really strong on nature and just loves nature. It was like a bit of a hippie, but like he just loves to be outside. And I remember praying, I'm like, God, connect that love for nature with realizing the Creator, because I'm like, find this. He might think that nature is what is bringing him this peace and joy, but underneath it's coming from a hunger and a realization and an understanding of there's something in the world, there's something in the beauty of the earth that can't be denied. Connect in with that realization and let that be the catalyst that leads into that. You know, so I think that's one of the things that,
and that's what God said. The creation is designed to fill you with awe
for the Creator,
and so to say, wow, how amazing the Creator.
Exactly.
And evolutionists, scientists have come along and sort of said, no, don't make any connection. It's just random. There's nothing out there. You're just, and they say, and if you do make a connection, you're a fool. If you do make a connection, you're intellectually a child. You don't understand these things. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and say, okay, well, what is the creation story?
Yep.
Because sometimes we get a little bit surprised when we actually study the Word of God. We find, I just imagined things, or I simplified things, I oversimplified things sometimes to help make sense. But let's go back and actually look at creation, and understanding that by understanding what God shared there.
Just a minute, we need to find where Genesis is in the Bible.
Well,
If you start from Revelation, you'll have to go
let me start with a question to you, all right?
Yeah.
If you're starting a book, all right, if you were writing page 1, line 1, and explaining everything, what would you start with? How would you do it? Because sometimes when I understand
law building,
I started what I'd do, I realise, well, God obviously got it wrong because he's doing it a different way, but it makes me realise maybe I'm not looking at this in the right way. There's a couple of things there. First of all, our Western mindset is very different to how Eastern mindsets are, and the spiritual sort of side of things. The Western mindset tends to be very logic-driven, very mind-driven. We put things in compartments. It's not that the Eastern mind doesn't. There's not like patterns and things, but we're looking at it from a different perspective. And so there's that. There's just my natural inclinations and my own ways of looking things. So when I thought about this, okay, first thing, if I'm going to explain a book, I explain who God is, where He came from, what's all happening, set the scene. And then the earth happens. You think, well, he did. He started. No. Where did God come from? Has he done any creation already? Because I believe the angels and everything's all, he's got angels, he's got spiritual, as Satan's already fallen. How does all that work, or when does that happen? I want to know all that. I want to know, and let's look at how God says, I'm going to share this story. And it starts with one of the most famous verses of the Bible. In the beginning, God. And it doesn't say, in the beginning God, we're going to explain.
From the very start.
It says, created the heavens and the earth. And then he just launches into this. So, no explanation, no details.
Yeah.
You're just going to, it's going to be one of those ones we're going to discover as we go. God's revelation of who he is, his nature, his character.
There's no character bio or any of what's going on here.
And he says, actually, I'm one God, but I'm in 3 persons. This might blow your mind a little bit. And it says, but no, we'll do this. So I'll start with something that is a little bit unusual. Who I am. It says, I'm in the beginning God. Now, if you look at the Hebrew for this, in the beginning God, you might say, there's so the name for God, Elohim. All right, you can read the Hebrew. Obviously, read from right to left. No, I'm just reading here. Elohim, a masculine plural noun meaning God, gods, judges, angels, is sometimes occurring more than 2,600 times in the Old Testament. That's probably no surprise. This word is commonly designates the one true God, Genesis 1:1. Often paired with God's unique name, Yahweh. So it's a plural word. There is a singular word for God, and it's El. El is the word for God.
Yep.
And so if it's sometimes being used for like false gods, it's Elohim, gods. But if it's used of a false god, it'll be El.
Yeah.
El is the singular. Elohim is the plural.
Yeah.
So the very first time God is referred to, and throughout multiple times in the Bible, it uses a plural sense for him.
Yeah.
Now some people say, obviously it was Bible code for I'm more than one, but it's sort of the Jews who read this it never occurred to them God was saying I'm more than one, because one of the foundation rocks of their understanding of God is God. He says I am one. There is no one else. I am one. I am one. But the plural sense is a way of saying, but he's bigger than just all the other individual gods. He's like plural in a singular. He's so big. I'm going to use the plural.
Yeah.
Because I need to somehow say how big this God is. So I'm going to use the plural for him. But from our perspective, when we understand God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, 3 in 1. It's like, it doesn't surprise me they used the plural.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like there's plural stuff and there's things there that I don't want to say this was a hidden meaning, because the Hebrews were comfortable with it. They weren't trying to work out what it meant. But then he did things like...
Because who wrote Genesis?
Moses.
Moses.
So this is the account of Moses writing. So not an eyewitness.
Yeah.
No.
Writing back.
Yeah.
The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the earth, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. So it's like, there you've got God, now you've got his Spirit. Just sort of, how does that work? Oh, well, this works. And then later on, in the end of chapter 1, it says, God says, let us make man.
God's going through some character development.
Yeah, why is he saying us?
Yeah.
Let us, in our image.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a second, who
else is this?
Yeah, what does that mean? So, even in the midst of all this, there's no explanation. It's just a whole lot of stuff. Just deal with it. Just deal with it. Just deal with it. And then in Genesis chapter 3, it says, the serpent, who more crafty, comes into... And it's like, well, what's this serpent? What's the temptation? And obviously, later on, you understand from the book of Revelation, the serpent is the devil, Lucifer. But in Genesis, it's just referred to as the serpent. But where's the serpent?
Genesis 3 makes me feel vindicated in my hate for snakes.
Yeah. Well, if you're a woman, it says there'll be,
Yeah. I was like, that's you. Ever wonder why I don't like snakes? Like, well, I'm not trusting one again. Look what look what the last one did.
You want to go live in New Zealand?
Yes.
No snakes.
Exactly.
So again, there's no explanation of all this, but what we do get is an explanation of how creation happened. Now, this is the point I'm getting to from here. God does not feel obliged to explain things. Okay? He's not explaining himself. He's not explaining angels. He's not explaining his character and nature is threefold. He's not explaining how there's a spirit of God. God doesn't explain all that. Doesn't explain where the devil comes from, the temple. But he does explain the creation process. Don't think, he does it because he's an explainer. No, he's not an explainer.
Yeah.
So if he's explaining this, there's a reason.
Yeah.
All right? There's something about this that he says, I'm not just sort of giving you information because that's what I do. Yeah. I'm not giving a background. I am telling you how the world started, not just for information. There must be a connection why you need to know how this happens. Now, you could have just, from my point of view, you could have said God created the heavens and the earth, and then he created man.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to tell me the process. You can just say you're a creator, and then I can go say God is the creator. God is the creator. I can say God is the creator because you told me he's the creator. And he didn't go into every detail, but he did tell you a process, and he said, and I'm going to tell you, I did it over 6 days. Why does he? Why is that really that important? And it was like, yeah. Well, of course he needed 6 days because it was a big job. But just think about this. If I'm going to do a job, I take all the tasks, I divide them up, I work out, okay, if it's a building job, okay, we've got to do this, we've got to do the waterproofing first, we've got to build I can't start with painting the walls on day 1 and on day 4 build the walls.
We'll plaster after.
Exactly. Yeah, do the plastering on day 5 and the painting on day 2.
If you paint the plaster, then put the plaster
on. It's warmer weather on day 2, so we'll fast track and do all the painting then.
Yeah.
And when the weather's a bit cooler, we'll do the carpeting and
then we'll put the frames up after that.
Yeah. And then so that's nonsense, isn't it? Building is a process, and one thing relies on the other.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of work, and it takes so many days, and so I can't say, well, I'm going to do all this on day 3. No, how long does it take? So when I'm planning something, I'm doing it in the order of what can be done, and then I'm also doing it in the order of what I'm capable of doing, and what I'm doing. So I, without knowing it, can transfer, this is how I would do it, to this is what God's telling me.
Yep.
God's taken 6 days because God says I needed 6 days.
And it's a 6-step process.
It's a 6-step process, and I got to the end of the first day, and that's a good day's work.
Yeah.
Now we're on to day 2. Okay, going to be a big day today, everybody. Here we go. Day 3, another, and I am looking at it as God does and fills what he needs to do on that day, and then because I know at the day 6 it says he finally finished and he takes a rest day. It takes, wow. He needs Sunday for them Saturday, the seventh day. He needs a day off because he's worked really hard, and so he's resting because it's been a big day. He's earned it. He's earned a rest day. So that's my view, right? And I know enough of the Bible to know it's not correct. But without knowing it, I have relegated this to God explaining now and telling me the process he had to use and why what in the order he did. So it'd be like saying, "Oh, hey, you built your house. Let me explain. The first day I got the plan. Second day I cleared the land. Third day we did this. Fourth day, oh, that's really interesting. I can't look at this through those eyes.
Yeah.
I've got to scrub my head. First of all, he doesn't explain things. So why is he giving us this information?
Yeah, because he doesn't have to like prove that he is God.
Yeah,
you know, it's not.
He says, because he said, I'm God and I created the heavens and the earth. Now
It's not a level thing.
Yeah.
let me explain the process. So I want us to read through the creation story and look to see why God's telling us. What is it he's giving us information about? What is his perspective? Why do we need to know this? And what is he trying to convey to us? And not look at it as if he's just working really hard. It's a big thing for him. Take all that out and say, you could have done these things at any time. Why did you do this? Why did you not do them all in one day? Here's a question. Could God have created all the heavens and all the earth in one day? Or is like, no, it's just no, he needed 6. Did he need 6? Could he have done it in 1 minute? How many minutes?
Why did he need rest?
Yeah.
Why did he choose to rest?
Yeah, why did he have to do it over 6, and then why did he rest on the last day? How long did God need to create the earth? Now I'm just going to give you, we're going to jump ahead and just see something in day 4. Okay, so end of day 3, verse 13. And there was evening, there was morning, the third day. God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and years. And let them be lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made 2 great lights. The greater light to rule the day, and less light to rule the night. So what are they? That's the sun and the moon. And then it says, and the stars.
Yeah.
All right? And he made the stars. All right? 3 and the stars. This is an afterthought type mention, and the stars. I was looking at it. I was talking to Jay about it. I did some research this morning again, just to make sure I got the numbers right. We live in the Milky Way. That is our solar system. It's portions of the Milky Way is what we can see with our natural eyes. All right, but then if you use telescopes, you can see smaller areas which look dark to the natural eye, and you can start to see lights. There's stars so distant that their light is so small that you can't see them just with the natural eye, because they're too far away and they're not as bright. But then if you look with even larger, more advanced telescopes, you can see further, and you can see even tinier pricks of light, and you can see light that has been traveling for many great distances. So we have discovered, we being me and Josh and the scientists have been up. They what they do is they focus on a very small area of the sky, and then they literally zoom right in, and then they count what they found, and then they extrapolate that over. And this is what they've discovered, that we live in the Milky Way, which has
basically our
galaxy, which has a galaxy roughly has, I don't know actually about Milky Way. The average galaxy is around 200 million stars. 200 million stars. All right, so that's a lot. Okay, and then they've discovered that there is what they consider 200 million to 2 trillion galaxies beyond our Milky Way. So possibly 2,000 million galaxies, each one having 200 million
or so stars,
plus accompanying planets and their systems. There's about 8 billion people in the world. We did that search this morning. So let's round it up. Let's say a couple more billion, 10 billion people. That means you, Josh, you can get 20 galaxies or 200 galaxies, depending on of your own, and each one of those galaxies has 200 million stars in them, and that's just for you.
Great.
Every person on the earth have their own individual. That's how big it is.
Yeah.
That's the enormous. That's the size of. And
Wow.
God created them on day 4 and said, and the stars.
Yeah.
All right. That was probably, and the stars, physically, and from my perspective, if I'm it'd be like if I'm building a house.
There's more work there.
If I'm building a house, and I'm describing what I did on this day, and on day 4, I put the roof on of my house and all the houses in Europe and North America.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, hang on a sec. Wow, you did all that?
That's crazy.
And Africa and South America
Yep.
and Asia
Yes.
and 200 million other planets, and it's like, this is ridiculous. Hang on a sec.
Yeah.
This what you're saying here. This is the sheer power and greatness required to do this. Is just way beyond what you're doing here on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
The complexity here is amazing. Creating the animals and complexity, but when you divide up how much effort or power is required, it's not even.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not divided by I need this much time and this because I can only expend this. What he did on that day, in terms of power and size, was just huge. But he just did it in a moment. So the fact that he's taking multiple days is not because he needs multiple days.
Yeah.
He is doing something, so we are to look at it and say, why did you divide it up this way?
Yep.
So you've got your Bibles. We are going to work our way through all the days and find out what was happened on each day and see if there's a pattern.
Yeah.
See if there's any connections between one day and another day. See what God says about them, how it works. And I remember when I first did this many, many years ago, my natural thinking immediately collided when I realized that the sun was not created till the 4th day. And I'm like, that just doesn't work.
How could he see?
Yeah.
Well, how does the Earth actually function? Because
Yeah.
see, the sun is the center of our solar system.
Yeah.
And everything rotates and moves, and that's how we get light. That's how we do things. And then how the sun is. But I realize that's a very evolutionary way of thinking, because they sort of say that's planets form around suns. Suns form first.
Yeah.
Then planets are however they whatever the latest theory is, and
Planets form around this.
Can I just say, if you want to have a fun rabbit hole to go down, try and find out how scientists are explaining how planets form, and moons form, and that. None of the theories work even close. It's just a terrible. They shouldn't. They should all collapse in. They should. They say, this happens, but no. All the gravitational forces, you just get sucked in. It doesn't. Things don't. If I throw a bunch of rocks in the air, they don't go.
Yeah.
They get pulled down to the ground. All right. They get pulled to the sun. They don't.
Gravity.
They don't pull together and mold. They get pulled to gravity. You know what I mean? It's just. So it's fun reading out how they say the moon exists and stuff like that. They'll say it with great authority, but if you look through and say where is the science versus where is the storytelling, you'll find that most of how planets form, how moon forms, all those things is just storytelling, because they can't actually make it logically from science. But I was influenced by it without realizing. Born again as a young man, believing in God as the creator, did not realize how much the world's viewpoint, which had the sun as the center, and everything, life and everything relied on that, and how important that was.
I would have even thought the sun had to be there because, day one, let there be light. What's our source of light is the sun. The sun is our source of light on Earth. So it's like, so that must have been the light they were talking about.
And night and day.
Yeah.
Sun.
You cannot have night and day
Without the sun.
All right, so let's read through and say what. And it's like, this made my head spin, and it actually clashed with me, and I had to do it by meekness, and I've done it now for so long that it actually it makes much more sense now, whereas at the time it was the opposite. All right.
okay.
Yeah.
So now we've got it. So you're going to work through. So grab a pencil. I encourage you get the physical version of the Bible. So that's what I've done here. We're going to look at some key things that you're
You
going
need a
to.
pencil?
Yeah,
There's more here.
Here, this one. All right. I would encourage you, and if you don't
Do
have,
you have a sharpener in there?
yes, I would.
Cool.
I've even got clutch pencils, so you don't need pencils. There you go. Right. Look, it's like school. No, the teacher's got everything ready for them. I got some coloured pencils here, and I would encourage you, if you don't have a Bible, see if you can print off Genesis chapter 1
Yeah.
and put it in, and then mark it all up. Because what you want to do is you want to first of all divide it into the days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's a division it makes.
Yeah.
You know, it says it was evening and morning, day 1. You know, so we can at least say, well, what happened in
The day.
and 6 days. Then we're going to look for some phrases. So we're going to say we're going to look for the phrase "and God said" or "God said," because.
So are we doing this now, or are you going to take us through?
We'll work through this.
Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do that.
Yeah.
So you're telling us this, and then we'll go through and do it.
Yeah. So we're looking for him. I also, the revelation is growing in this. All right. This is God named things. Okay. There's no need to say that. All right. Okay. God created the earth. Okay. Well, and then he says he called. This is verse 5. The light day, and the darkness he called night. It gave names to things. Well, isn't that sort of you just sort of need what? But hang on a sec. Do you understand? He's created something. He's put a name on it. Why does he need to name it? Why does he need to give a specific name to something?
Purpose.
But there's something about So he look at the number of times he spoke something, created something, but then he gave a name to it. And even when thinking further on, when Adam was called to name each of the individual animals. So there was something about naming things.
Yeah.
He's a namer. All right, and it's like I don't want to just say, "Oh, that's quirky." Move on. He's a namer. There's something about what God does that if I don't understand it, I want to work it. So so verse 1 and 2. Verse 1 is like that's the summary. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, notice also he has defined it as 2 parts: heavens and earth. All right, that will come into it. This is also this really messes with us because we literally we know where heaven is. Where is heaven? That's where you go when you die.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual place. So when he's creating the heavens, is he creating that heaven, the place I go to when I die? That doesn't seem to match up with here. We have to understand that the Hebrew and the Greek words for heaven is what we would usually translate as sky. All right, when it says something in the heavens, it's often just purely referring to something in the sky.
Yeah.
Let's just have a look here, and we jump ahead a little bit to get this. Verse 26. Let's. Okay, yeah, verse 26. This is the verse I was looking for. I thought it was. God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens."
Yeah.
All right? That doesn't mean you've got dominion. When you go to heaven, when you die and Jesus takes you to heaven, you're going to have dominion over the birds that are in heaven. That's not what's the meaning, obviously. It's the fish of the sea, the birds of the heavens. What are we talking about? Heavens is literally what we have 2 words for: sky And how heaven is that ultimate final resting place where we go to be with God, we call heaven. So we have two words, they don't.
Okay.
Hebrew and Greek both the same.
Right.
So when they say it, you've got to work out what they're talking about, because that same word is for different layers.
Yeah.
Okay. You see that in 2 Corinthians 12:2. I'm just going to jump over there. I'll try and stay a little bit focused. But Paul says, I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. So what's this third heaven? So if you said the word heaven talks about the sky, but it also talks about more.
Yeah.
Paul says, okay, I refer to the heaven where God is, that spiritual place. That's the third heaven. So I'm going to say, this is me. First heaven is where the birds live. All right. Let's have a look at Genesis 22:17, when God told Moses to look up at night.
Genesis 22.
Yeah, verse 17. God says to Abram, I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven and as the sand that is on the seashore. All right, I would call that heaven the second heaven, which is the space.
The galaxy, space.
Yeah.
Outer space.
Yeah, just
Sky, galaxy, or space.
space.
Heaven.
God's
Heaven.
dwelling.
Yeah. All right, so we have to sometimes work out what they're talking about. But God, whenever you look at it, says, for instance, when Paul would talk about it, he said, when Paul said God created, he didn't say God created the earth. He said God created the heavens and the earth. So that's the two division. He created this earth and the sky, space part. So that's how defined. All right.
Heavens, multiple.
Yeah. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth. So we're down here now. All right. So that's why it's made the division there. Was without form and void. I've got a better translation of that, which is unformed and unfilled.
Where's that?
What verse 2? The earth. So we have in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. That's like the summary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it says, okay, now at the start, the earth. So it doesn't tell us.
So you're saying the heavens there is probably first and second heaven, most likely.
First, second, yeah.
Not third heaven.
Yeah,
though.
in the context, it's going to be talking about where the stars are and where the birds
But
are.
yeah, God on that in that
First
moment,
and
God
second.
created first and second heaven, is what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The earth, okay, was without form and void. So it never talks about God doing the creation of earth. It just sort of says this is what it was.
Yeah.
There's no say. Everything else is God said, but this one is just there. So he sort of started already, and it's some people think, well, maybe that didn't happen in the 6 days, that this happened eons earlier, and it's just sitting there. Or some people believe it's like there was actually a previous creation that had people all on it and animals, and they all died, and now what we're talking about is a recreation of that. And there's verses and people. I don't think so. It doesn't. That's not the plain reading, and that's not the plain understanding of Scripture.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of the things that people say for that is because they're trying to work out. We dig up fossils, and the fossils are like millions of years old, and this doesn't allow for that. So, but what happens if we say that the earth and everything else is really old? Then there can be animals that were really old, and then there's a new and it's so. Yeah, you're getting from the Bible, then you're trying to marry it with evidence, which is never a good idea. It just becomes a whole mess. Then that means death was introduced from Adam and Eve, and that means there must have been a whole lot of death before Adam and Eve. If you've got fossils. The other one is when Jesus said, when Adam and Eve were created in the beginning. In the beginning, when Adam and Eve created, so he says that the starting point was when Adam and Eve were created, not. There's a whole lot of millions and billions of years beforehand.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, I tend to go with Jesus. Yeah.
I've heard the theory before from Christians about like God recreating earth after us. What do you think of that? Or
This after now.
yeah,
Oh, there's going to be a new heavens and a
new
new
heaven,
earth.
yeah, like the new heavens and new earth, but in terms of like I know we'll get into that with like the Revelation stuff,
Yeah.
but it's like there's obviously when we're in heaven and stuff, but like redoing this whole
Yeah, definitely.
process.
When we look at Revelation, you'll find a lot of stuff's happening down here: new heaven, new earth, and and that is actually a real key part to what the whole the Genesis thing is. This one's corrupted, a new heaven, a new earth's coming.
Yeah.
And so that's a real. Paul was looking for that. That was
Yeah.
part of his whole mindset. So this earth, it was there. I don't think there, for eon. If it was there for a long time, it wasn't with
In use.
it wasn't a pre. This is how it was. It says without form and void. Because some people say, God would never make something that wasn't beautiful.
Yeah.
No, it's not saying it was bad. No. It's saying it was. That's why unformed and unfilled.
A template.
It was the materials.
Yeah.
Now let's get to work.
Yeah, it was a canvas.
Yeah,
Waiting to be painted.
It was a piece of clay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's fashion it. So it was not like, I've made a mess, I have to fix it. It's this is it. Here we go. So here we go. And you notice that the Holy Spirit is hovering. Holy Spirit's part of the creative process.
Yeah.
That plays a big role when we understand how God works. He uses His Word, and the Holy Spirit takes that, and away we go. But we're not going to focus on that on today. So verse 3 is now, okay, now we start the process.
Yeah.
So you can draw a line above verse 3, because day 1 starts effectively at Genesis 1:3. Is it everything up to now?
I said that. I did it at day 2.
No.
Sorry, verse 2. I did it verse 2.
Well, yeah, that's the background. Do you know what I mean? The Holy Spirit's hovering, and then he said. So yeah, you can say that is the start of day 1.
Yeah.
So verse 2 and verse 3. I'm not going to throw you out of academy if you've done this. So God said, "Let there be light," and there was.
And we're
light.
highlighting the fact that it says God said.
God said.
Yeah.
So
No, I'll do that.
So we are, and you can number them. We are in day 1, and we are in the God said 1. Okay, they don't match. There's more God saids than there are days.
Okay.
All right, that's what I'm telling you.
So do you put a number next to where it says God
Yep.
says? How did you do that?
Well, I just coloured them and numbered them in my margin.
In the so like on the side you just
Yeah.
put.
So I drew a line for every day to split them up, and
Yep.
then so I numbered the days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
But then I've hashtagged 1 light.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the first God said. Let there be light. And then I've got a little sub thing under there, day and night, because it said God saw that light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. So now we have, and God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. So these, when it said the called, that's not the God spoke. This is naming. This is naming.
So we do that. So would you do that in a different color?
Yeah, grab a different color, and you can say name.
My Bible's got he non-capitalized in that part.
There you go. ESV might be not capitalized. I've gone to ESV. Let me put it in New American, so I'm going to match my Bible.
Yeah. Verse 5.
Yeah.
You go down to verse 5, and there was evening, and there was oh, here it is. And the darkness He called light. For whatever reason, in that verse, because normally it capitalizes it. Might
Okay.
be a typo.
You found a typo in the Bible. All right. So we have got night and day. He's actually named them, and then we have this amazing
One
sentence.
sec. Let me just.
So at the end of verse 5,
And then here I'm putting.
there was evening, there was morning, one day. So he explains how a day is measured with a morning, so evening and morning. Do you notice the order? It starts with the
Yeah, it always says evening first.
Yeah.
and then morning.
Okay.
How do we do our day? Morning and evening.
Yeah.
That's not the same. In my book, not my book, Gene Becksoni's book. You know, the word Gene Becksoni. Gene comes from the word Genesis. Because anyway, in the book, but on sleep that I wrote. What's the name it called? Sleep. It's overnight success.
Overnight
That's
success.
nice.
Overnight 10
I was
steps.
going to say champion sleeper. I'm like,
Overnight
that's not it.
success.
It's the same concept.
10 steps to sleeping like a pro. I actually talk about this, how one of the ways to do a better night's sleep is to treat your sleep as the first part of your day and make your preparations based on going to sleep, and to see that you are starting your day at night, because it's sort of a good Bible principle. And I do a little bit of research where the which cultures and things did night and day. So, but Bible, night and day. It's important. Just and we can maybe talk about that another time, about the benefits to you of treating. Okay, let me just say with rest. When we get to day 7 and they rest, remind me this. Okay, we said we said earlier, works really hard, rewards himself with rest. Rest is not a reward because it starts our day. You don't work really hard and then finish with the sleep. You start with your rest and you go into your day.
That's
refreshed.
good. That's
so
good.
God doesn't want our sleep to be the reward of a hard day's work. He wants our sleep to be the seed that we're sowing for our new day. But it's a different mindset.
That's good.
So verse 6. So we've got one day, and it's also, how do we define a day? Some people say, it's not 24-hour days; it's errors. The day. We live in the day of technology. That's not 24 hours. We live in the day of this. That's an error. So some people say, well, the Bible, they can just be saying this was an error, like zillions of years can be just a day. Because God said even one day is like 1,000 years, like the Lord. I think a couple of things going in. First of all, he said, I'll tell you what a day is. It's evening and morning. One day. He actually defined
Day.
So it's like,
Richard said that's how night shift works. What you were saying before.
Day. So one morning, one evening, one morning, one day. So God's sort of talking about 24 hours. But what we haven't done is we haven't created the sun. But we've got light, and we've got night and day, and we've got a rotating earth. Because otherwise, that's how we get evening and morning, by rotating and having a fixed light source, which to me is the sun. And it's like, we haven't got a sun, but we've got a so maybe when he says create the light, he means the sun. But we know from day 4 that's when he created
the sun.
Now, we're not going to study Revelation at the moment, but if you go to Revelation, this is why Revelation and
also an easier book to find.
I was going to say we picked 2 great books to find.
Revelation and
What book in Revelation? What chapter I should say?
Chapter 21.
Oh, right down the back.
So right near the end.
Is that the second last?
Verse 23. Look at what happens when the new heavens and new earth come, and the New Jerusalem comes down. Verse 23. The city has no need of the sun or of the moon to shine upon it, for the glory of God has illumined it, and its lamp is the Lamb.
Wow. There's no need of the sun or the moon. Wow.
So when he started it, he didn't need the sun. And at the end, he says, I don't need the sun. The sun is central to all our life. We say there is no life without the light of the sun. That's where plants get their energy. That's where then we eat those plants. We get energy. Without the sun, it's light. We say without the sun, it's a lifeless planet if there's no sun. And there we go. Suddenly it's like,
wow, that's good.
And they don't have night there, because verse 25 says, and in the daytime, for there shall be no night there, its gates shall never be closed. All right. So I just wanted you to see that God doesn't look at the sun as the source of light. He's quite happy to have it at the start, and he's quite happy to provide it at the end. And it says the glory of the Lord is what illumines. It's just his. So he created light in this natural realm, and there was light. And then he said, now I'm going to separate it. And to separate it, that's to me, he started spinning. The earth started spinning, and he put a fixed position, and you got an evening and a morning. But And okay, verse. So and he said, "That's it. That's it. Just creating light, not even the sun,
Yeah.
just light, and start the earth spinning, and not a lot, really. You know,
Yeah.
it's probably like okay, and we're calling it a day. Yes, we are.
That's a day.
Literally.
Yeah, that's a day.
That's it. All right. So do you understand? It clashes. So to me, it's like, it's either much harder to create light than I thought, or what are we doing here? And also just the whole concept, possibly, all the forces and the physics and everything needed is being created as well. All these things.
Interesting thing here. I'm interested if there's an actual reason for this, whether you're going to talk or it could just be how it's written. Verse in day 1, it says, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. He said it, and it happened. Day 2, and God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters."
Yeah.
And God made the expanse.
Yeah.
Is there a reason it's different that says God made, not just and it happened?
No. My understanding is that when he said it, he made it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's using
It's just different language, but it's
different
extravagant.
language to explain the same thing.
That when he said it, it became.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious whether there was a reason behind it or...
Can I just say, actually, there's quite a bit of a study that you can do behind that word "made."
Yep.
Because God, in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth, and God made, and people, and it's a worthy thing.
Yeah.
But it's something you can dive into, get what that word "made" means, and stuff like that. But I'm not strong enough on it to preach it, but it's not also something I need to focus on here. So verse 6, let there be. So now in day 2, God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So it's separate. So it's just the earth is a ball of water, and suddenly now we've got water up here, and we've got water on the what we would call the ocean, like an ocean without land.
Yeah.
But now there's like a separation, and he separated the waters which were below the expanse and the waters which were above the expanse, and it was so. And he called the expanse heaven.
Which heaven?
Well, and it doesn't specify. That's just the beauty of the Bible, And there was evening and there was morning a second day. That's it.
Yeah.
It is going to separate. So now we've got.
If it's separating, is it talking about the sky, heaven? Because the water was up here. Now
I'm guessing it's talking about almost like the clouds and the...
Yeah.
But not outer space, and obviously not...
So it's the
third heaven.
First.
So probably...
I would
maybe.
say what he's talking about is the atmosphere. He's creating atmosphere.
Okay.
There was no atmosphere. Okay, and you got clouds and things like that above. There is also an understanding. It says, did he create a canopy at the edge of the universe, space, which is also water? So now that wouldn't have been obvious to Moses and anyone who living in Bible times, but they're saying it's a bit of speculation.
Yeah.
But scientists who love the Bible also are looking for clues about our universe. So they're saying, did God tell us that there is an edge to our universe, which is actually a debated fact amongst scientists? They want to know that some scientists say there is no actual edge.
It's continuing to grow and expand.
Well, there is not. You start to get into the weird physics part.
Yeah.
Growing, expanding still implies an edge, like a balloon.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what happens if there is no edge?
Yeah, it's just...
And we say, well, what's on the outside of the edge? Just existence, space. What does our universe look like when we push right to the edge?
Yeah.
Is there an edge? Is there such a sun? So multiverses and all sorts of weird stuff gets done. So what they're saying is, maybe this is talking about an actual edge to the universe, which is water. And so they said, if that happens, you should be able to get a ping when you look at the very edge of the universe, and you'll get a radiation reading, which is from that. It will be very faint, but there it'll be. And guess what?
It wasn't.
When they're pinged, it's there.
Okay, so
right?
it could be.
But Scientists say, oh, that's because of the Big Bang. There's a radiation reading from the Big Bang, and creation scientists saying, oh, actually, it could be actually the water that God's talking about here at the edge of the universe. So there's
something out there at the
and there's
edges.
a reason for it, and so it could be like this expanse. So that's above my pay grade. But what it means, there is a separation. I'm seeing this as more. He was talking about the atmosphere and the earth are separated. He's created the atmosphere.
Yeah.
All right, that's the simplest way I have looking.
Yeah.
I've got here now in my Bible just the note of like first heaven, atmosphere, or second heaven, edge of the universe.
Yeah.
Just like because I'm trying to just mark down everything in.
Yeah. And God called the expanse heaven, so it gets his name. Sky, heaven,
Or
it's
or outer space.
Well, it's just I think what he's calling it's you got earth and then you got an above the earth.
Yeah.
And whatever there's above the earth is called heaven.
But like because first heaven is like just our sky, second heaven is that above the earth.
Yeah. So really, what from a perspective of say Moses standing here, that up there is called heaven.
Yeah.
And down here is called earth.
So, but like in terms of the third earth.
Well, yeah, that's one thing. I don't think he was trying to go first, second, third.
Yeah.
He's just saying up there's heavens.
Yeah.
Down here's earth.
Yeah.
Saying
when Paul talks about it,
when he said third heaven, he was referring. I've gone into the spiritual heavenly zone.
But Paul was saying first heaven like our sky, second heaven is outer space, third. And I'm using that as my reference point of when it talks about God created this heaven. It's like I'm just using first, second, third to help myself.
So I'm guessing he's talking about first and second.
Yeah.
Or sometimes when he talks about birds, he's just talking about the first. All right. So that's why something you can't sort of tie. If some people say, oh, if you use it in one way, the next time you use it, got to be exactly the same. It doesn't work like that. That's how language and concepts work. So
next we go. God said,
verse 9. Then God said, "Let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let dry land appear." It was so.
And God said,
God called. So this is a naming.
Call
the dry land earth.
Yep.
And the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. So now we have earth and seas. We've had earth up until this now. Like in the beginning, God created heavens and the earth. Now the earth we understand is earth and seas. It's sort of a subdivision.
Where does it say he called? He called. There we are. Again, doesn't capitalize for some reason.
Well, and God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. God saw that it was good.
And God said,
let the earth. So do you notice that we're doing multiple things on this day now? We haven't said evening and morning. God said, so we've got another God said in the same day. Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit after their kind, with seed in them on the earth, and it was so. So we have atmosphere, we have sea, we have land, and now we have vegetation with seed after their kind. Always very clearly, fruit after their kind. It's God created things to recreate or regenerate sort of within a kind. Okay.
A boundary.
So that kind doesn't have to. We've discovered, it doesn't stay exactly the same. Like a cat or a dog. Dogs are a great example. Canines. You found that if you can mix and match with the puppies and all the rest, you can stay within the canine dog kind, but you can get a wide variation from a Chihuahua to a Saint Bernard to a wolf to a coyote. You know what I mean? We get a huge variation but it stays within the kind.
Yeah.
It's just a variation. All right. So it's interesting. He's very particular with the kind.
So first, we had two sets on this day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We had
You said.
earth
and water.
Earth
Seas.
water. And then he also said vegetation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we've got no sun, and yet we've got vegetation.
Yeah, because
That's the opposite to
plants rely on
light.
light, water. Yeah.
They rely on light.
Time.
We would say they rely on the sun. God says they rely on light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right?
That's good.
So that's why it does your head in a little bit, like, if you're just thinking naturally.
And then the two things he named were the seas.
Yeah.
The earth and the sea.
Yeah. Verse 13, there was earth, there was evening and there was morning, third day.
Let me just. And I want to put in there that fact about the vegetation with no.
No sun. There was light but no sun.
Mm.
So we are up now to verse 14. So let's recap. What can you tell about the first 3 days? We're halfway through. Halfway through, boys. Halfway through God's creation. But let's stop and just recap. Day 1, and don't look at your Bible now. Okay, not looking at your Bible in there. See if you can do this. Recap. Just stop and think. Heavens and the earth. So that's the summary. Earth, full of water. Spirit. That's preparation. Now we come to the first day.
Day 1 we had light.
Day 1, light.
And he named them morning and night.
Morning, and he separated the light from the darkness.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we have light,
Morning.
and night, dark and light, and darkness and light. That's it. Day 1. Day 2.
Was that the
Waters
The
separated.
waters.
So
Sky.
separating.
Yep.
So we have sky, we have heavens,
Mm-hmm.
and we have earth.
Yeah.
That's it. Day
And he
2.
named them the heavens.
Yep. And day 3, we have the earth separating from the water and dry land now appearing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have seas and land,
Mm-hmm.
earth, and then he fills the land with
Vegetation.
So that's it.
And named them the seas and the vegetation.
Yep.
Mm.
He didn't
So
actually name
I've
the
got-
vegetation, but he named this.
Oh no, so he doesn't name.
earth
He
and
named.
seas.
So day 1 he created light, named them day and night. Day 2 the expanse of the waters, and he named it heaven. Day 3 he had created the earth and the water, separated the earth and the waters, and created the vegetation, and he named it earth and seas.
Mm.
All right. So now we're into day 4. God made 2 great lights.
And God
Right.
said,
Hang on a sec. Sorry.
verse 14.
Sorry. God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, for days and years." So now he's creating all the lights that we see in the heavens.
Yeah.
All right. So now there's lights that is light that he has done by his glory is now being replaced with actual lights.
Yep.
Let there be, and then let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth. And God made the 2 great lights, greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. And the stars also. It says in like the New American, he made the stars also. In Hebrew, it doesn't even have he made. It's just
And the stars.
Well, just this is the stars also.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
just the stars also. And God placed them in the expanse of the heavens. So now we're talking up in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Above,
And
above the atmosphere. Into the,
So God said, "Let there be light in the expanse of the heavens." So in the expanse of the heavens, that's talking about like second heaven.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's putting the stars and the moon and they're sort of into that space area
Yeah.
to govern the day and the night and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, a 4th day. So, okay, so now a bit of a spoiler alert. Trying to. Is there an overlap between day 4 and the other day?
Before it.
Yeah. So does day 4 have anything that overlaps in terms of another day?
Let there be light. He said, "Let there be light."
So now
Which
he's
is what
making-
happened in day 1.
So
Yeah.
in day 1 he made light. In day 4 he's making lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Day 1 he makes light. And day 4 he makes lights.
He's connected to the lights.
All right. So let's just keep in
And
mind.
God made 2 great lights, and
Yeah.
that's
So he made it a 2-step process. Day 1, day 4.
Mm.
Okay, let's have a
Wow.
look. And verse 20. Now we're up to day 5. Then God said, "Let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures."
I want to say, can we just go here and draw the day over that separate light? So he doesn't name anything day 4, does he?
No. It made them.
We've called them sun and moon, but
Yeah.
he didn't. So I've
Yep.
got the
True.
5th thing he's created is #5. And today was the expanse of the
So day 5.
lights, which I'm going to put in brackets. Moon, sun.
He is saying a 6th time. God said, let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open expanse of the heavens. So he speaks to what areas? The waters and the heavens.
Which is more first heaven
Yeah.
Yeah.
equivalent.
So he speaks to them and says for living creatures and birds to fill both of those areas.
Yeah.
And then a bit of an explanation. God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed after their kind, and every winged bird after its kind, and God saw that it was good.
Yeah.
So he said the ocean was full of different creatures, and the atmosphere is full of birds, and it was good. Now,
I like this. This is different.
What?
What happens next? It says, and God blessed them.
yeah, and God blessed them. So that's different. That's brand new.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a blessing.
He hasn't
Be fruitful
blessed
and
before.
multiply and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds multiply in the earth. And there was evening and morning. So, yep, that's brand new. God speaks a blessing to them the first time that's mentioned.
Does that happen again?
Yes.
Is it worth highlighting that in a
Yes,
different colour?
yes, Yep, I did.
Okay, so green is a blessing.
Okay.
Okay, one
Now
sec.
let's do our let's have a look for an overlap. All right. Day 4 had an overlap with day 1. Lights became
More lights.
light became lights.
Yep.
Day 4 we have birds in the atmosphere, birds in the heavens, and fish in the waters.
Yes.
Let's look back in our earlier days. Day 1 we had light.
Yep.
Morning and evening, night and darkness and light.
Yep.
Day 2 was
The waters.
the separation.
The separation.
Yeah.
So we had heaven was now created and water below. So God created a heavens and waters on day 2. Day 5 we are creating birds to fill the heavens
Yep.
and fish to fill the waters.
Yeah.
So, do you
So
see
now
that?
after day 3, he starts populating the things
Well,
that he already created.
Yeah, there's a connection. Day
Yep.
4 is connected to day 1. Day 5 is connected to day 2.
Yeah.
4 to 1.
Yeah.
5 to 2.
So the things that happen on day 5 are connected to what happened on day 2.
Mm.
Day 4 happened on day 1.
Yeah.
All right. So
So three is.
what happened on day 3? So let's start.
Will that connect? Oh.
Land, seas, and vegetation. So he created land, actual earth, because there's no earth.
Yeah.
There's no land. There's the earth, but it's all water. So at this stage, it's just all. No, sorry. Day 2 there was no. By day 3, it's separated land and seas, and then there was vegetation.
Yeah.
So we are up to now day 6,
And God said,
and God made the beasts. Oh, so verse 24. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures. So he sort of speaks to the waters and gets living fish. I'm saying, and he speaks to the atmosphere, the heavens, and gets birds.
Yeah.
Now he's speaking to the land
the earth, which he created on day 3.
and bring forth living creatures after their kind, and cattle and creeping things. So cattle, creeping things, and beasts of the earth after their kind. It was so. So he sort of put them in 3 categories: wild animals,
Yeah.
domesticated animals, if you like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the small stuff.
Yeah.
So lizards and the reptiles and all of the other things.
Yeah.
So just 3 broad categories, but within those is the kind.
Yeah.
Each one to their own kind. And it was so. And verse 25, God made the beasts of the earth after their kind, the cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps on the ground after its kind. God saw that it was good. So that's almost like, that's done. So we've now filled the land.
Yep.
We've filled the waters. We've filled the heavens.
Yeah.
We've created lights. So the first ones, we're creating the environment, and then we are filling them. Right? Day 4 filled day 1, day 2 filled day 3, day 5 that filled day 2, day 6 that's filled day 3. And it's almost could say that's the end. But now
36.
we have the verse 26. God said, "Let us make man." Now, he spoke to the waters, spoke to the heavens, spoke to the land. Who does he speak to for man?
It says in our image.
Yeah, let us.
Us.
He speaks to himself.
Yeah. I agree.
So, I heard this from Tom Ingalls, worship leader, many years ago. He was talking. He sort of highlighted fish were created for the water.
Yep.
Birds for the air.
Yep.
Beasts for the earth. Man was created for God.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's why when you're in the presence of God, you're like a fish in water.
Yeah. Yeah. I like
How
that.
cool.
You're like a bird flying.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's amazing.
When we're with God, because we're different from the animals.
Yeah.
They're created beings, and they the rocks will cry out and everything. The animals know that they're created, in the essence. But we are designed and born out of God. And he actually said, "Let us make man in our image." And the fact that he said "us,"
Yeah.
I think there's 6 or 7 different theories about what "us" means. Because it's like, what are they talking about? Obvious one, the most obvious to us is the Father talking to Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So
Yeah.
this is what we're going to do next. But that blows in the mind of the people who were reading this because they couldn't have understood that. So you're writing something that the person who's reading it can't understand. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So would Moses write something that the person can't understand? I think it's more like, they would have understood it a certain way, but there was God understood it at even a greater level. Example, that would be like, when Isaiah was prophesying, he talked about a maiden giving birth, and they picked up on that, and that had a natural answer in the day of Isaiah, but in Jesus' time it says, they're talking about a virgin giving birth. In Isaiah's time it was virgin / a young maiden, so she didn't have to be a virgin. Just meant a young woman, a young lady gave birth. But that word actually has the sense of virgin, and it's then hundreds of years later they say, that's Jesus with Mary.
Yeah.
So it has a current meaning, but then it had a secondary greater meaning, and I don't see why sometimes things like this. Yes, they're speaking to that. The same as the expanse in the waters. No, that's not what they were been thinking. Moses wasn't thinking about the edge of the universe. He wasn't thinking about but it doesn't mean that truth like that can't be also in there.
Yeah.
But I also think you should look for the plain meaning first, how they understood it, because there would have been a meaning for them.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, and then let the other one be the secondary meaning.
Yeah.
Sort of like what we do with Book of Acts, where it's like, you realise Luke was writing for someone, so you would think about that, and then you look for, or Paul is writing a letter to someone, so look for that, and then look for what else God has used it for, because we talk about the first thing we ever learned in Academy, week 1. Yeah. The Bible is 2 things. Yeah. It's a book, and it's God breathed. So it's like, as a book, who was this written for? Yeah. And as a God breathed instrument of worship, instrument of God, what is He now using it to tell us? Because it can be both.
Now, interesting. You just said, what is He using it to tell us? Remember, we started this whole thing with, He doesn't have to tell us how He's doing it.
No, exactly.
He could have just said, I created the heavens and the earth.
Yes.
And then all the animals were there and all the fish were there. But He's purposely told us, not that He created them, but when.
Yeah.
and how the process was. And now we've learnt, he's doing this and this connects. He's doing this and this connects, and he's doing this. And so he's telling us on purpose how things are connected together.
Yeah.
And why they
Wow.
do you know what I mean?
That's amazing.
How it works. Now we come to day 6, and now he speaks to himself. And he says, let's make man in our image. That's never been
We're good.
we're good.
Yes.
That's never been said about any of the other things. This is now something unique and special.
It's become personal.
Also, there's a sense of this is what we were getting to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
The setup.
This is all the other things, were they a preparation? Like the lights were made so that the sun and moon and stars could come in. The heavens and the earth, heavens and the waters
Were made so that the fish and the
fish and
the birds could.
the
Land was made for the beast to come in, or the.
And notice, see, for the beasts to come in, they also needed vegetation. When was the vegetation made? Day 3.
Yeah.
Remember, before the sun, he's already put the vegetation, because he's going to create the beasts who are going to need to feed on the vegetation. So he creates a land filled with food for the beasts. So he's already, because it'd be no good making all the beasts and saying, "Oh, now I'll put a whole lot of seeds in the ground, guys. Just you'll have to wait a little while." He fills it ready. So there's a sense where God is making an environment and then putting the appropriate creature or item into that. Then he says, "Now that's all. But I've put all that together
For man.
for man." See, he said, "I made the stars and the sun and the moon for what? For lights. Who for? For all the creatures, but for man. But also, what did he say? For seasons." And have a look.
Is this day?
Day 4.
And let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and years.
Who needs that?
Man.
And so man can operate and function and navigate and all the rest.
Yeah.
I've put all this. So he's preparing a world that is perfectly meshed and ready, and then he puts man as the final piece of the puzzle, designed for all the other things, ready for him.
Yeah.
And so let's make man in our image according to our likeness. He's going to be just like us. Is he going to look like us, or I think he's going to be a spiritual being.
Yep.
He's going to be a spirit. He's going to be spiritual, not just natural. This is different. This man's going to be. He's going to be able to connect with us on a spiritual level. He's going to be an eternal spirit in a physical body. And so he says, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and the cattle over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So now his relationship for all those things that have been created
Yeah.
is
It's
established to
good.
rule.
Yeah.
And
So
God
it's
created
relationship.
man in his own image, verse 27. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. Just mentioned. Did I mention that he was male and female? We'll just throw that in.
Yeah.
Because you could be thinking just no. He's male and female.
Yeah.
This is like the language doesn't work. Him, plural, male and God. He created him, male and female. He created them.
Yeah.
Just. Okay, I'll let it slide. Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them. So the second blessing. And
So
God,
the first blessing was to the
birds.
the bird,
And
fish and the
fish
birds.
birds. Yeah. I don't know. The cattle didn't get a blessing, but anyway,
Mm.
I would have thought they would, but I'll let that slide too. And God blessed them, and be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it. In other words, this is to be your earth to look after and to rule over. Rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, and over the living thing. I've given you every plant yielding seed that's on the surface of the earth, and every tree which has fruit.
This,
yielding
are we?
seed. It shall be.
Are we
food for
calling
you.
this a God said or not?
Yep. Then God said, verse 29.
So interesting.
So there's 3 God said.
When he said this one though, this wasn't a said in terms of creating something in
No.
terms of a physical thing. He was creating, and this was him creating a culture and creating a life. Like, this is a
Yeah.
creation of a way of life almost, is what
Yeah.
was being created in this moment, you know?
Yeah, so exactly right. So we had two God saids in day 3, because God said, "Let there be land and sea," and God said, "Let there be vegetation." So we doubled up. So that day had 2 saids. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then every other day, day 5, lights, he said once, fish and birds, he said with the same said. And then day 7, beasts, cattle and reptiles with the one said. Now, he says 3 things. First of all, God said, "Let us make man." So he makes man with a God said.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then he said, "Be fruitful and multiply and subdue and rule." That's the second said. And then
So number
That's-
7 was the
number 7 was the cattle in verse
Cattle.
24. Verse 24 is number 7. God.
cattle, beasts.
And reptiles, I call them. Verse 26 is God said number 8, which is man.
Yeah.
Verse 28 is God said number 9, be fruitful.
Even more than fruit. It was also like a
And rule, subdue and rule.
yeah, rule. It was the creating the culture almost.
Yeah, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, rule over the fish and over every living thing. And verse 29 is the final God said, the 10th one. God said, "Behold, I give you every plant yielding seed that's on the surface of all the earth, and every
Where's
tree."
that one?
Verse
29.
29, which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be food for you. So God's giving.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I was talking about. I call that number 9.
No, number 9 is verse 28.
Oh, there's another one. Sorry, and God said. Yep.
Oh, because I had that.
I saw God, and God blessed them, and God said.
Yeah, I had that as green because it was a blessing.
Yeah,
Better to God.
and God said.
Better
I
to God.
coloured it the wrong colour. I've done yellow instead of green.
It's hard doing colours right, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like practice all
Oh yeah, because I saw God blessed them, but it's and said.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't see the-
little secretly. Yeah.
Because you were saying, I'm like, where is it?
Yeah.
He says it's there, but I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
looking
the New
at.
American,
I'm looking at
the New
God
American
blessed.
makes it a bit easier. It says, "And God blessed them, and God said."
Yeah.
So what?
So-
What did you say for number 8? 9? What did you call that?
Number 9 is be fruitful.
Yeah, and number 10 is rule.
No, number 10 is be fruitful / rule, subdue. That's all in the one said.
Yeah.
And then verse 29, God said, "I'm giving you every plant and seed."
Okay, so they're all blues.
So we have 6 days.
And what was the second blessing was?
And that was verse 28.
Yes.
He blessed them to be fruitful,
Yeah, be fruitful.
multiply, all the rest.
I'd say fruitful. There's a lot of notes here.
Yeah. All right.
I'm
But-
not sure I'm going to be able to read what that says, but I will.
The important thing is to see God broke this down on purpose to explain what the relationship was, with the understanding that the crowning part is man, to understand man's relationship to all these things and how God is dealing with man. So the reason he shared this is so you understand where you fit. Because he could have just said, "I created man
Yeah.
and the earth
Yeah.
and everything," you know.
Why?
But he created and he showed you the process
Yeah.
and how they're all connected, because it's 4 to 1, 5 to 2, 6 to 3, 6 part B to all of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's you, and that's the connection.
Yeah.
And interesting, didn't give animals to eat. Animals. Didn't give the animals to eat. That wasn't till later that they were given.
Animals to eat. That was after the
flood.
after the curse sort of thing.
Yeah. And
I'm going to guess this is something we'll go into next week,
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing, or depending on when we talk about, maybe it might be week 3 when we get to the serpent and the fall.
Yeah.
I'm guessing next week might be more based around chapter 2, depending on how things go.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, it's interesting, the whole God takes what the enemy meant for evil, turns it for good sort of concept.
Yeah.
I think what better example of that, the fact that it's like, God didn't design death. The serpent, the devil brought death into earth,
Yeah.
The devil was the one that created death. And the fact that God then used that death for our salvation, Jesus used death as the point. Like, I know, and there's reasons for that, and there's actually, there's spiritual things that happen by it being a death. But it's like, what a cool concept. Is like, the one thing the devil thought, I brought this in, and the one thing he used to destroy the world was actually what Jesus used to save the world and shove it back in his face.
It is. It's a bit like that. The devil says, I'll grab hold of that.
It's like the one thing the devil...
I'll destroy that and ruin that. And God says, well, I could use that to...
the whole that God could... Is there other ways God could have done salvation that didn't involve Jesus having to die and all these things? And it's like, well, no, I think there was spiritual reasons behind it, which I'm guessing we'll get into. But it's also like... I also like the fact that if Jesus had saved the earth without having to die, if he found it, if they'd done another way which didn't involve the sacrifice and and everything like that, the one thing the devil could have said is like, well, the one thing I still hold is death. The one thing I did bring in that you didn't have is like, and God's like, well, actually, that's the one thing. That's the thing I'm going to use to create your.
He removed the sting of.
He removed the sting of death. I just love that. Like when you look at it through the perspective, God created this perfect earth. The one thing the devil thought he could have hung his hat on, was literally the thing God used to defeat him in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's and that's the sort of thing that you see with the patterns and the things that and that's part of reading the Bible, getting that pattern. And saying, the devil tried this, but God did this, and it's so you see this divine dance of what God outdoes. So we've finished now with verse 31, and God saw all that He had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, there was morning, the sixth day. So he condensed it all into that six, not because he filled up 6 days, but because he was doing. There was a reason for it.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm just thinking here. So you got 3 days. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and on the 6th, and then he's sort of done the beast as these 3, and then he speaks 3 times to man. Let us make man. Let us, and says to him, be blessed, and says to him, take the fruit. So 3 things makes man and blesses him and gives him the fruit. Do you know what I mean? See, there's rhythms and patterns and da 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 da. God is, and the whole idea is He wants you to see your creation in light of how all that works, and to see your role and to see who you are and see His connection with you and see His plan and to see that you're blessed and see that you've been given this and it's like, very good. I've done it. That's been good. And so He rests on the 7th day, which we'll talk about next week. Yeah. Because we'll go into chapter 2. But there's 10 times He says in the 6 days. And 10 is a number. There was 10 plagues. There's 10 words.
On that, yes.
Yeah, the 10 words of the 10 commandments. 10 words. And we might look at this next. In Genesis, there are 10 summary statements that says this is the account of. 10 times. This is the account of. This is the account.
In Revelation, do you say?
No, in
Genesis.
10 summary statements through the book of Genesis. Summarizes what
That's
happens.
Cool.
So
how exciting!
I'm excited. This is good. That was such a good way to start, and I loved I love the fact that because this is a new Bible for me. I got this only Christmas. And because we've been studying so much of Acts and New Testament, I haven't really read any of the Old Testament in it yet. So it came in, my Bible came in empty in terms of notes and stuff. And I'll just look at the first 2 pages I'm excited to see the rest of the book looking like this.
Well,
It's just,
and can I say something? Yeah, probably the first 3 chapters
Would be the
you're
most.
going to be like that, especially
Yeah,
the first chapter,
dense.
because there's patterns there, there's rhythms,
and
there.
there's things. This is the
Yeah.
There's reasons for it, not just
Yeah.
oh that's interesting, or that makes a pattern. It's a pattern that's meant to give you revelation and
Yeah.
understanding. It's meant to frame how you look at everything from now
That's
on.
good, yeah.
You know, it's that you get that, and then you understand.
This
who
is
God
this is the equivalent of what my Bible looks like in the back of the book of Acts now, where I've got all the where I've got all the things listed out, because we've taken the notes and stuff. It's so good, but it's so helpful to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is such an awesome
Yeah.
day. How good was that?
So good.
So yeah, so that was
Excited for this
that was
weekend.
exciting, and it was like, and so the revelation we got was God didn't need to share this because He doesn't share everything.
No.
He shared it for a reason, and He shared the timings and everything for a purpose. He wasn't trying to. I don't think He was trying to explain it in a way that helps us to study it scientifically, though we can use it to study scientifically. That's not His purpose. It was a side issue. Yeah, you get to know how stuff. The fact that He said according to the kind. Everything was according to the kind. Everything according to the kind. The number of times He said that should have given us a clue that we're not going to be able to evolve outside of our kind. He said you want the clue that says you can't get a grasshopper to turn into a giraffe. Do you know what I mean? Because a grasshopper is one kind and a giraffe is a different kind. They're not going to go out of their
Kind.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
But man saying,
This is the only way.
yeah. And that's one of the things we know with Darwin, and he was like he looked at animals and he saw variations, and he goes, he thought that God created every creature, and I thought it was just a false teaching of the day, but my understanding is there were Bible scholars of the day who understood this and taught it and understood it, and so Darwin was blind willfully in the sense he didn't look in this. God did not create
Every creature.
the creature that we experience today. Were not in the Garden of Eden.
No.
They were, the kinds were, but not the actual creatures. But he said, God created everything and they don't change. And then he found finches that had big beaks and small beaks, and he says, but they're those finches. And he goes, the Bible's wrong. No, he had never understood and studied what the Bible said. The Bible actually said you should expect to find finches with variations. You should expect to find, Darwin used to breed pigeons, I believe, and their aim is to try and different colours and different things. But you're never going to get a pigeon with blue feathers or whatever it was that they could, because there was just no gene that allowed that. But they could get fluffy hair and this and do this.
Yeah.
They could do a whole lot of stuff because they could mix and match and within its kind.
Yeah.
But you're never going to get a bird that is suddenly, has got some feature that...
Is that like gene splicing or whatever they call that? Like mixing outside, it doesn't happen.
No, this is what they do with the birds. Is you just use natural selection, which is the Bible within its kind sort of mindset. But God said right from the start, this is what you should expect to see. Every animal within its kind. Yes, you'll see 100 different kinds of breeds of dog in its kind. That's exactly what you should expect to see. But you won't see a dog turn into an elephant, and you won't see an elephant turn into a bird.
No,
because that'd be really weird. But so the what I'm saying is it's all there.
Yeah.
And He's told us for a reason, but not so we can win creation science arguments. That's nice and a bonus, but He's trying to tell you something more about who you are, why we're here, what His plans are, and then all that. All right, so
that's been so awesome today. How much fun has that been to study that? And I'm so excited, as you said. Like, I feel like not just it's going to give us Acts gave us a great backbone to read the Bible. Acts gave us a great backbone to take the gospel.
Yeah.
I feel like Genesis is going to give us such a good backbone to understand who we are in God and who we're created
your place.
to be, and what we're called to, and who God sees us as. And I'm excited to see that. Let us, if you've been enjoying it, how exciting is this? It's been so fun, and I loved going through and just taking the time to mark out. I've got at the start of chapter 1 there. I've got my four different colors. Blue is for something God said. Yellow is something He called. purple is any other notes that came up, and green was for any time he was a blessing. You know, and it's like so. Except when I actually did one yellow, but I managed to colour it over with green. But Judith, I'm loving this new emphasis on God's word. Thank you for sharing with us. It has been so fantastic. I love that we've, Academy's been on your heart for years. I know that years and years and years, and so good to finally able to dive into it and get this going. Next week we will not be here next Friday because it is a public holiday next Friday.
Josh was like, "What?"
Next Friday morning is a public holiday. It is Grand Final Parade and public holiday. Next week we're going to talk about God believing in rest, and at Breakthrough we believe in rest as well. So we love to take opportunities like that. Same reason we don't run things like Academy or Super Kids or Jesus Seekers over summer and over Jan, because we believe in giving our team rest and giving the people rest. So we're going to do that. We want to give people the opportunity to go and be with their families. Hopefully, as a Pies fan, we're celebrating Collingwood being in the grand final.
Hopefully, we're
the grand final parade night.
Standing on the edge of the road, cheering our players.
I desperately hope I'm standing there at the grand final parade. I'll probably be there anyways, either crying because Collingwood's not in it or crying because Collingwood is in it.
The pressure will be lifted.
The pressure will be lifted. You'll know whether or not Collingwood wins on Saturday by how we are on Sunday morning, turn up in black robes and
I'll be at church.
Yeah, but it's going to be, so next Friday, if you're looking to join us, you won't be here. If you're still wanting Breakthrough Academy teaching, go back on YouTube. There's a lot of teaching you can go back, find a week you missed, and go watch that if you need your Breakthrough Academy fix for the day, for the week. And then in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back here, continue on in Genesis.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Great summary. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
It's going to be great. Oh, where's the mouse? There it is. See you guys. Be blessed.